Hi, I'm Scav, and I'm an architecture critic. Welcome to the Extra Office, a channel where I do architecture critiques of video games. If you want to join me live, please find my Twitch below. And to support my endeavors, please find me on Patreon, which is also linked below. Let's get started. Okay, first stop is going to be Gerudo Town. Now, if you don't know Gerudo Town, first thing to know is that it's in the desert. So here is Gerudo Desert. All this area, super hot. This is actually the edge of the map. Down by me. Hello. And we obviously have to evaluate it on its, on a few things. On its climactic response, one, and also on its ability to host people of a certain stature or physical abilities. So what we noted from Rito Village is that it was the first city that had clearly been built for a specific type of body. And when we talk about architecture, sometimes we like to think about the body and its relationship to the body, or its abilities to or architecture's ability to allow for different activities to happen based on the bodies that inhabit it. So Gerudo Town is kind of it's a city for warriors, right? So it's very much a defensible city. There's a giant wall around it. It's very centralized form of government. There's a palace, a central core, right? A double-loaded corridor where each side has shops and stores, or a double-loaded, I guess, town square or city center. And then there's a couple of big spaces off on either side of the main area. There's living space, entertainment spaces over here. Okay, this is your sort of defense and training areas, and we're gonna check it out. So let's get it going. So the first thing also to talk about in Gerudo Town is the fact that you need to be a female in order to get in. Aside from, it's obviously a sort of a neoliberal dream come true. You know, what is so different about this city because it's run by and only inhabited by women? I think they do a really beautiful job modeling this city, and there's a few things about it that really bug me, and there's a few things about it that I absolutely love. And how much of that we can read in the architecture, let's find out. But I do think overall they do a great job. So as you can see, it's either side of us is filled with shops and the inn, etc., as I drew on the map. And then here is the sort of main gate. The very first thing we're going to try to evaluate is the sort of city context. Now, obviously, it is in a literal desert, so you can't get much about context, but what we need to evaluate maybe is the climactic response, because that might be the thing that bugs me the most. It's a really gorgeous town, and obviously it's the idea of it is that it's got a water source, and that water source is cooling the city. So there is something kind of democratic about that, the shared resource of the water. And, you know, maybe you could talk about water as life and water as cooling and democratization of nature and the commons and shared resources among all people. And that's awesome. So that I dig. However, I don't think what they have actually modeled here would work at all. So there's a little bit of a suspension of disbelief when it comes to the water and the way it would actually cool some of these spaces in this. So we don't really actually see where the water comes from. It just kind of starts pouring out from this thing. But it goes into these pools, and we can only assume that there's a pump somewhere because it filters down, and you can see how. Let's look up again. Let's go up here again, because you can look over the town and see the way it filters down and through and over top of the rest of the city, right? So yeah, so here's the water as it filters down, and it goes down, and it also runs here a little bit. You see it, right? Um, that part of it is very interesting to me. So um, I'm not sure that I love this shape. This shape feels kind of odd and strange. I don't know why there are these like pillars and what it might what it might mean. Like the shape kind of feels like a goblet, I guess. Um, they don't really talk about that. You'd think that it could be some kind of legend or discussed as some kind of legend, but they don't really reference, a great spring or some water features. So that bugs me a little bit. Maybe we'll start with the kind of throne room, because a lot of the cities in video game architecture will begin with the sort of main feature and trickle down, so to say, like this water. So right up this grand staircase, and next to the staircase of water, um, is an entry into the throne room. So the throne room might be the actual cool, like literally coolest room, physically coolest room in the city, because when you use water to cool spaces, which it can do and definitely should do, like obviously there's a cooling ability to water running through an urban environment that um, would work, but the air is what's cooled. The air that blows over top of the water is what's cooled. So you want two things. You want shade, and you want air movement, and you want the water. So I guess three things to really cool a space. We can assume that the air is moving, though there are no fans in this game. Um, in any case, here's the throne room. It is right it is very centralized. It is very much. I believe I rescued that for her. It is very centralized. It is a very strong source of sense of power. It's a very defensible area, except for this weird openness to the back. But hey, it is what it is. But it's super beautiful. I love the air flowing through it. The decoration on the columns. It's not necessarily Egyptian, and it's not necessarily Middle Eastern. It's a little bit of both. Um, and yeah, there's this kind of I do like her chair. That's really nice. There's sort of inlaid metal and inlaid gold, um, brightly painted. I love the paint of the sort of fake hewn stones. That's kind of neat. I like that that's on the entrance to the city, and I like that that's reflected throughout. This is a kind of interesting space. This is a bedroom for the queen, and it's a really gorgeous space, pretty simple. It's also incredibly hierarchical, and you get the kind of bedroom in the middle of the room with these beautiful drapes. It would be a super cool room, though I'm surprised there's no cross ventilation in this room. There's only one, so maybe this is actually the safest room in the castle or in the city. But also, I would like a little bit of cross ventilation in here to keep it cool. But it's probably pretty cold at night, so let's not forget that. However, this place is like hot, and we're doing both of the hot areas going from here to Goron. very centralized is this city, and that's kind of strange because I feel like there's a lot of contradiction in the way it's built and its philosophy. I like the democratization of water as a cooling mechanism for the whole city, and you could talk about the role of women in climate change and a lot of theory about feminist theory about Mother Earth and Gaia and Earth's resources, and I'm down, but at the same time, this is like a city of warriors and a very centralized um, government. So I do want to talk about the cooling effect. Oh, so now it's nighttime. So you can see the water flowing. The water obviously flows on top of the roofs of these structures. But the water on the roof of this thing wouldn't really cool it down any. Being inside this much mass would already keep you cool. I love that little window, by the way, if it is a window, which I think, I'm not sure if it actually is or not, but the water flowing over the roofs of these places wouldn't actually cool them at all. Um, Really, it would cool the air above them, and then that air just blows away. So that's kind of weird. And also, you would lose a whole bunch of this water would evaporate. And so, yeah, I don't buy it. I love that the game designers are including the climate in the way that they design the cities. And I love the suspension of disbelief. So like I play along. I don't think about it too much. I like the bottle. Hey, guess what's here? This is like where everybody goes to gossip. This is a favorite place. Are those like moths? Ew. I've never noticed that. You see that? Ugh. Also, the night lighting here leaves a little bit to be desired compared to some of the other cities, right? Just like something like that. We've seen some better lighting and cooler lighting. So here's the bar, which is pretty tight because here's where everybody comes to get day drunk, and it's like everybody sitting here chilling in the sun. This is a very contemporary space. I dig this space. So I dig this space. Yeah, everyone's just like chilling with a drink. It's kind of it's pretty different. It feels very different during the day too because the sun is shining down and it's like really really hot. Um, there's also randomly like trunks of stuff around. Like, what is this? Why is there just like junk here? I'm not really sure. That's not quite clear. It's not really a merchant city, though there's a lot of merchants. I don't understand why that's necessary. Like, this space is kind of a dead zone. Maybe these are stall. Wake up, lady. Maybe these are just like empty stalls, but that's not quite clear to me. The living environments are again carved out of the rock. The water is apparently flowing overhead, keeping you cool, um, but really just sort of being in that much stone carved into the rock would keep you cool. I like this area. This is the training area and the sort of area for the warriors. This is the throne room is right up there, right? So um, I like the proximity. I like the safety of it. It's got no exits to the outside, so you can't just like come in and pillage. I believe they just keep like some weapons in here and stuff. Ah, classroom. What? This is cool. I don't think I've ever been in this room. Oh, hey. What are they learning about? Do they look angry? Or are they in love? They're learning about love? We've got dummies to test on too. All right, I dig it. I never, I have never been in that room. Ah, daytime. Let's take a look at it from above here a little bit. Here is that area with the people chilling. I dig that. During the day, like I said, when the sun comes up, everyone's just kind of day drinking in here. It looks really chill. All together, here's the inn, and we all sleep in this one room as per usual. There's a sort of private room. This must be the comfy bed. Um, Again, not a lot of cross ventilation. I like the carved out. I like what's carved. Um, I would like to see a little more small windows. They exist in some of these places, but they don't exist everywhere. And like these guys, I want to see these be able to open up from the inside. But from the inside of those, I didn't really catch a lot of them. So that's unfortunate. Again, I really dig the way that the water flows throughout the entire city. Um, but like this right here would be the coolest space because the water is um, the air flowing above the water is sort of blowing over you and you're in shade. But I love this is like a regular household. Super cute in here. There's one window, right? There's that. But is there one on the other side? No. I think some like cross vent tiny windows would have been nice. Tiny Trump windows, I guess. Heard about this tiny window thing. So there's some wares and some goods. I really like how they are displayed in the public space. It's very much a kind of a bazaar or a market where there's a very equitable public space that's being. That's kind of funny that the sign for this building is a top. Um, anyway, I love the ideas of equity and the ideals in this city. That it's also very accessible. Now that I think about it, because there's a lot of I mean, these steps are like tiny, but I don't feel like there's. I feel like a lot of bodies can get up and down, young and old. Um, there's no ramps in it anywhere in the game, so we'll forgive them for that. But it is a sort of very equitable public space. I think there could have been more shade, though, a lot more shade, more public shade. Again, the gems in or the sort of painted stones pretends to be a keystone, right? Um, that's kind of neat how we see that reflected everywhere. The architectural language is leaves a lot to it's mud, it's shaped, it's dug out of stone, it's carved, it's sand that's stacked, and then kind of everything in between. So one thing that kind of bugs me is that it's supposed to be a very defensible city, right? Like, look at the way it's built, but I don't actually think anyone comes to wage like a war here, because you couldn't really defend. Like the top of it is all like raw stone. It's really just to keep like creatures out, because the top is like just stone, and then a lot of it is like water, right? You couldn't. Ooh, let me catch that. Nope, I won't catch it. You couldn't defend it standing in water. So there's something about that. I was expecting there to be a sort of border or sort of like patrol wall up here. There really isn't. I can actually walk on it, but not many else can. So the other thing is that Gerudo women are super tall. And I don't know that I feel like they took advantage of the shape there. Because if you look at me, I mean, they're way taller than me, right? And I know I'm not tall. They're not humongously tall, but the rooms aren't that they're not. I mean, how much? They're about what? Those women I just saw were what, like this tall? like and it's also like a very very wide opening. So I feel like the door openings or the doorways could have been a little bit more intentionally about or the sort of bodies. And the other thing too is they've got these super high hips, right? Um, like like proportionally incredibly tall hips, and yet a lot of the counter spaces are not really for their body. So this could be taken in a few ways. One, that this place is a sort of equitable city. A lot of the counter heights aren't exclusively designed for the body types of people who inhabit it, but anyone's body type. So like, see the hip to table. That's kind of a this is kind of a super interesting. Like here's hip. You would want if you were this if your hips were here, you you would want your table to be like pretty high. Like they want standing tables. You do not want to be bending over with hips that high. You do not want to be bending over low tables. But it could be suggested that the equitable nature of this, yeah, see, that's the right height for her. This one. That's the right height. Or closer. But anyway, that these spaces could say, you know what, everyone's welcome in these spaces. Everyone can reach over the counter. Everyone can sell things. The items are on the ground, so there's no the that difference isn't even suggested or able to be discovered here. So that's kind of an interesting point. I think that about wraps up Gerudo Town. Um, for now, at least, this tour. Really interesting sort of central city. Thanks for listening. Of course, please like, share, and subscribe to get more videos like this. Comment down below what game you think I should do next. Come find me on Patreon to support my work, and see me live on Twitch to join in the fun. See you next time.